Well, time for a quick little update on a couple things. So I didn't get a video last week because I was busy taking some pieces off and stuff, and then just kind of didn't get to it on Sunday. But basically, catch up in the last couple weeks. I took it to have the alignment done, and I think I mentioned in one previous video that I couldn't do it because of the tires were too big on the back and couldn't get it in. But I took it to a place that locks onto the rim, not necessarily the tire, and kind of does it old school, like without the computer and stuff like that. So they went to align it, and I also asked them uh, to check the balance on the front two tires, again, just to kind of double check things. They said the one was fine, I believe, on the driver's side, but the passenger side was off, they said, which was interesting because I just had that done a couple weeks ago, or a couple weeks before that, but they said it was off. And it was kind of cold that day because we got a little bit of snow, and so the car had been sitting outside most of the day. So when they brought it in, the aluminum rims were cold, and so the little weights wouldn't stick to it. So they asked if they'd keep it overnight, and they did. And they kept it inside so it would be warm, and then they were able to put the weights on, and everything seemed okay. I'm going to have to double check a little bit. I noticed when I left and I turned kind of hard the one direction, it felt like something was hitting or whatnot. And he said, yeah, when you turn, it's kind of hitting the inner fender well a little bit, so I may have to massage that a little bit to get a little bit of extra room there. He said not by much, but it was hitting. However, when they got all done, one thing that they did notice was when they were double checking everything, that when he grabbed the wheel top and bottom at like noon and 6, it didn't move, but when he grabbed it at 3 and 9, it was moving a little bit. And so they tightened down on some of the suspension. I had forgotten to tighten down some of the suspension pieces, so they tightened that down. But no matter how much he said he cranked on the knuckle bolt that goes through the knuckle where the lower ball joint comes up through, it just would not like tighten up, or it was tight, but it wouldn't. It was still wobbling a little bit. He said more than it should, almost like it was oblonged. And I thought, well, maybe that had something to do with the accident in the rollover, that got messed up or whatnot. The knuckle did. However, when I came home and was looking at it a little bit, I was able to wiggle it, and I could see, yep, that it was wiggling in that lower ball joint in the knuckle. And so I did some research and come to find out that there is a slight difference between a ball joint from a 7 to a 14, about 2 millimeters difference in the piece that goes up into that knuckle, and that's just enough to make it wobble a little bit. So when I had bought the tubular K-member and tubular A-arms, the tubular K-member said it was good from 7 or 5 to 14, so it was kind of universal. So I never thought to check the A-arms because the A-arms came with the ball joint. So the A-arms themselves are the same, but it turns out there is a difference in the ball joint. On the upper, the ball joint is basically just bigger on a 14. The piece that goes in the knuckle is about 2 millimeters bigger, and the piece that goes into the A-arm itself is about 4 or 5 millimeters, about 1/8 of an inch or so bigger. And so I was not able to just take the old ball joint out and stick the new one in. But I talked to Dan at DCA, a local fabricator, and he said that he would be able to basically, mill that out or open that hole up, by about 4 or 5 millimeters, and then that could the new ball joint could be pressed into it. And he said he could do that fairly confidently without any issues. And there's plenty of extra plate around there, so it shouldn't weaken it or cause any issues like that. And when I checked on getting new ones, tubular A-arms for 14, they were a little expensive. They're $600 for a pair, and they were back ordered for 5 weeks. So I just decided to have them do that. DCA said they were backed up a little bit. Right now they're pretty busy, so it'd be a couple weeks before he could get that done. So just kind of waiting for him to get that done, and then can go ahead and do that. So last weekend, I went ahead and pulled off the control arms. You can't really see inside there, but the lower tubular control arms there, I pulled those off, and then bought new lower ball joints for a 14 GT500 and took those over, and they're just waiting on him to get done. We've been making some good progress with the tune, definitely getting a little bit closer and better with that. One thing I did too, just because it's getting so cold nowadays out here in the Midwest, since it is wintertime, so I don't have to have the garage door open so far to be able to run it. They've salted the roads and stuff, so I can't really do anything on the road anymore, but at least, you know, we can work on the tune and stuff in the garage here a little bit. But since I don't have to have the garage door open too far, to try and keep it a little bit warm in here, is that I got some of the tubing, or I shouldn't say tubing, the flexible conduit for HVAC systems, and hooked that up to the exhaust, and then like that, so I can just crack the garage door open, you know, 3 or 4 inches and shove that underneath, and then that way the exhaust runs out there, so it doesn't get too bad in here with running the car, and it's only cracked a little bit, so hopefully it keeps some heat in here. So that's kind of my solution for that. I am going to have the place in town that did the front bumper and stuff. I did notice on the rear bumper, can't really see very well, but there are some spots on the rear bumper here that have some little stress cracks and stuff like the front bumper did. So I'm going to have the same place that did the front bumper, probably have him, I'll take the rear bumper off and have him sand it down and repaint it so that it you know, gets rid of those little stress cracks and stuff like that on the rear. But that is about it for the quick little update, kind of where things are at with the car. So making progress on it. We'll see, you know, if we get the tune fairly decent. I may talk to a place in town that has a dyno, or a guy that I know here in town, one of the tuners that was originally helping me with this, or kind of out of town a little ways, I should say, that has a dyno, and see about maybe getting a trailer and taking it over there at some point this winter and running it on the dyno, just to get not so much numbers per se, but just to work on the tune and kind of the drivability, you could say, so that way when comes spring, we'll hopefully be ready to go and with the tune and be ready to rock and roll. So that's kind of where things are at the moment. So I just wanted to give a quick update. Thanks for watching. Bye.